Alright. Test, test, test. I think it's good. I'll give it some time. See if anyone else comes up. Alright, I should... Alright, let's see what happens. Okay. So I guess before I get started, I'm gonna wrap up some details that happened. So we lost one of our pets that we considered a daughter. So I apologize if it seems like I'm not up to spirits. It's weighing on me heavy today. I can't really get away from it. Our central AC unit is no longer cooling. It's blowing but not cooling, so I don't know what to do with that. In any case, right now I've got some fans going on. You can probably hear that in the background, so I apologize for any noise. So I'm going to try and hopefully that most of that gets cut out, and hopefully that won't be too big of a bother. Let me see what it looks like on Streamlabs. It's a little annoying. The chat seems to be working. Last week I did try to stream. I was actually in better spirits, surprisingly, but for whatever reason my internet was incredibly slow and laggy, so I ended up having to give up on it, and I hate that. It wouldn't maintain. Kept going, I guess critical is what I'd probably best explain it as. I guess, I don't know, but it's doing a lot better now. So far, it's maintained over 4,000 bit rate on kilobytes per second, so it's doing good now. Last time we ended on fingerprints, and we're going to be continuing. We've gone through 728, and we might, probably not this stream, but the stream after that will probably finally be over 800. Alright. I guess I'll go ahead and start. Okay. Fire Emblem Sacred Stones. I have been a fan of Fire Emblem since about 6 months ago. 6 months ago. Yes, it's a long time, but I just started playing the obsolete Game Boy Advance games. Anyways, my brother owns the two released outside Japan, so I thought it was as good as anywhere. I thought it was as good as anywhere to start at, considering I thought it was as good as anywhere to start at, considering I started with Reki no Ken number 7 and recently finished it. After going back to his apartment, I asked him to borrow the Sacred Stones Fire Emblem with Ephraim and Erica, since I saw my friend playing his 3DS version of it, and he tells me when you shake it, strange occurrences may occur. Spoilers, paragraph. Now, in this game, you gather the 2 last sacred stones that are left after being broken by the possessed Prince Leon of Grotto. Now, monsters of the once ancient and sealed away Demon King have come back. So the thing you need to do is to go and defeat him. This is where my story starts. So I am on the final chapter of the game, and only one abnormal thing has happened so far, which is playing Cosmin in Eternity. Believe in yourself perfectly, as if it was an Xbox 360 Sonic CD. So before I came, I trained most of my units, and used all of my promotion items. So I defeat Mur's father after he was transferred into a Draco zombie. I complete the chapter, defeat Leon, and the Demon King comes out of him. The final part of the chapter begins, and the first turn against him, he spawns monsters. Second turn, the horseman kills Elarachel, and the strategic placement of the characters start to fall apart, and he kills Erica first. I didn't get a game over. Odd, it didn't happen though, and lastly killed Ephraim. Instead of the game saying game over, it had a cutscene of Demon King saying, "Now that this place is conquered, I can now conquer Earth." He then breaks out of the game, just like he did to the Dark Stone. In a week's time, the world has less than 100,000 people left. Animals are scarce, same as crops, with the last humans having guns. We were able to go out and scavenge food from places that are abandoned. We find a radio that still works, and use it to tune into a military channel. Attention military personnel. These things, they progressively get stronger, and it seems the evil entity's power is increasing. Use extreme caution when fighting these things. End of transmission. Static. After this bit of evidence that they were stronger than they used to be, we sought out to find out some stronger guns and had no success. Who is we, you ask? We are me, my bro, my sis, my mom, my cousins, my aunt, my uncle. After about 4 months, we were malnourished, weak, near death, so we go out in front of the monstrosities and let them kill us. The Demon King uses our lifeless bodies as minions to his revenant in the division. I'm amazed I remember this. I'm writing this with my declawed claws, as clumsy as I am. It took about 3 hours to write this. Being a zombie isn't too bad. You can enjoy this stuff for a lifetime. Yeah, no, this was not a very good one. It's not well written. There's a lot of grammar and there's a lot of run-on sentences. It makes it hard to read. And whenever you start transferring things to Earth, then you already start going into this area of ridiculousness at some point. We know the Earth isn't actually like that, so it's really hard to justify it. You know? There are better ones than this. So, I would definitely recommend something different. I'd probably do mostly rewrite, aside from maybe the first two paragraphs and like fixing the sentences, probably. Fire. I am followed by fire. It sounds really, really weird, I know, but it's true. Every house, every apartment I've ever lived in has burned to the ground. Even stranger, it's predictable. If I've lived somewhere for 6 years, 6 years after I move out, it goes up in flames. It's not exact, but it's close. Usually accurate within 2 or 3 months. It's true. I'm not sure when I noticed this pattern for the first time, but it's always been there. When I was just a kid, right after I was born, my family lived in an old house behind my grandmother's house. We were there until I was 2. When we moved, I remember visiting my grandmother's at 4, watching the smoldering embers of the little house and the curling smoke rising in the air. Old wiring from the 50s finally gave out. From the shack, we moved to a farm. We weren't well off enough to own it or anything, but we did run it for the local doctor. The farmhouse wasn't too big, and most of my childhood memories came from the cozy family setting it engendered. Here, I remember Christmas, Thanksgiving, birthdays. I think of it whenever I think of back home. We lived there from when I was 2 until I was 9. Built as needed. Wait. I'm in the wrong spot. When the doctor we worked for died, at 15 it burned, and the old tree struck by lightning, sparking off the blaze. The third house I lived in was the second to burn to the ground. We only lived there for around 2 years, so it happened when I was 13. It was an old house, a very old house. What I remember most was its shape. We called them shotgun houses, because you could fire a shotgun from one end and it would pass all the way through the other. One room after another, all in a straight line. Built as needed. It was honestly very old and dry. Huh. He's used that twice, hasn't he? Built as needed, or did I just reread that? No, I guess I just read that out of nowhere. Built as needed? Whatever. It was honestly very old and dry. I'm not surprised that the heating stove in the front room sprung a leak on the tenants after us. Other than where I'm at now, the only place left is my parents' current house. When they asked me why I was moving all my stuff stored in the basement out, I didn't have the heart to tell them, so I made up some excuse about having my old books and stuff closer to college. I didn't know what else to say. When I turned 19, I moved out of my parents' house and went to college. Before renting the house I live in now, I stayed in an apartment in the city. I shared it with a couple of assholes that seemed nice enough before I moved in. Everyone knows the type. Won't pay their bills on time, eats whatever they can lay their hands on. It got worse and worse until I made up my mind. When I'd finally had enough, I left. We were 4 months into 1-year lease. Now, I'm just keeping an eye on the news, waiting for the sparks, a gas leak, a stray match. Sooner or later, they'll burn. They'll all burn. Alright. That was actually a pretty interesting one. The concept of you being a catalyst in one way or another. I kind of like that idea. You can be a little bit of a catalyst and just tell them, basically, this is how it is. For whatever reason, I don't know why, but if I can maintain some kind of control, then I know who it can affect. And at the very least, I can control whether or not it's a bad person or good person or something like that, maybe. But it's always something that's gonna haunt you. Let's see. Oh. And just who are you, sir? Odd comments. No. Burnished Hitta. No. Hello, sorry for bothering you. I want to offer promotion of your channel viewers, followers, views, chatbots, etc. Price is lower than any competitor. The quality is guaranteed to be the best, flexible and convenient. Order management panel, chat panel, everything is in your hands. Turn on and off, customize, go to Streamrise RU. No, I'm not gonna. No. Let's not have that. Hold on. I don't want that in my stream. Not like that. Come on. Oh, come on. For whatever reason, my chat's always having an issue. See, here's the issue that I have with a comment like that is, if you're gonna comment something, then you need to be able to, at least do the bare minimum and fucking follow or something. I get it, you're trying to do something, but that's what a scam looks like. I've seen it so many goddamn times on YouTube to other people. I'm lucky that I didn't have to experience much of it, maybe a couple. Every once in a while I get a comment like that. So yeah, it's really annoying. It is really fucking annoying. Where is the one for spam? Nation 600. Come on now. Why won't it let me do the thing? Whatever. Oh, whatever. It's already on. I already went to the OBS side, so it's really not that big of a deal. I just wish I could filter out spam like that. So yeah. Also, the person's still not there. So yeah, I know it's hard to get shit out there. I get it, but you shouldn't feel like you have to worry about people that might end up scamming you. And because so many people have done this, where people tend to always avoid that. Whatever. It might be something I can't do until I get more followers or something. Anyway, I can continue. Alright. Fireplace. This was found in a journal in an abandoned hospital. Let me start by saying that I love to be near a fireplace. I love their heat. I know that I am not the only person like this, and many people do. I get to be with my cat whenever my grandmother has a fire in her fireplace. Although one time, something went extremely wrong. It happened on November 12th of this year. My grandma had asked me to set a fire, so I did. I opened the grate, and a ton of ash just fell down and some gas came out too. This was very weird since I had cleaned it recently. Since we just cleaned it recently. After the fire started, I started to feel dizzy and tired. I must be tired, I thought. I lay down, I fell asleep. I lost flesh. When I awoke, both my arms were red, blood red, and you could see the flesh of my arms. There was no blood either. My grandma, since she is a nurse, tried to help me until I can get to a hospital. They put me to sleep. I awoke. Everything was dark. There was no electricity. I didn't even know what day it was. Day it is. I keep seeing something out of the corner of my eye, too. It looks like a ghost. It has no head, and what looks like blood. If it's even possible. Oh, crap. The rest of the journal was covered in bones and blood. Actually, I think this one does really well. I think you could give more to it, but I think the way it ends and leaving a lot to the imagination is actually really cool. The things that are still a mystery should remain a mystery. But I think you would be just as effective if you could give more to kind of flesh out what's going on and leave the mysteries as mysteries, and I think you could do a lot with this. first actual creepypasta. Spore. Today I decided to play Spore. It was nothing out of the normal except one thing. The creatures looked more realistic than normal. I decided to socialize with a nest of creatures, and one of my socialized tools was named Kill. And that was weird, because stuff like that should be in an attack section. I was scared, so I decided to play Space Stage instead. I went on my Spore save and with a creature named Toed. And something was wrong with my home world. It was like a lava planet. This was the same with all of my empire. So I decided to explore space. No other empires were there. It was getting very scary. So I went back to the creature stage. When I was attacking a nest in creature stage, my creature bled realistic blood when it was attacked, and the attack mark stayed on my creature until I came out of the egg again. Maxis, how did this happen? Also, when a meteor hit the planet, the meteor shards were much bigger and destroyed the entire nest when it hit one. The spaceship came, abducting creatures. Well, not abducting them. The spaceship shot a laser at the creatures and exploded them with blood. In cell stage, the cells looked like normal cells because they had no face. But I couldn't get through the stage because of that. This was getting too weird, so I left the computer, and nobody was walking outside, except for spore creatures. The ones I saw while playing. And there were no other houses. There was just a lot of grass, plants, and nests outside. Did I get sucked into the Spore universe? Many creatures tried to attack me, so I went inside and got one of my kitchen knives so I could defend myself. And maybe something to eat. Tasty. Delicious. Virtual creatures. You know, for a first creepypasta, I would say that this is actually pretty decent. You're not bringing them to the real world, you're bringing yourself to their world, so that's a little bit of a change. I can only assume South Thief is the author. This is actually pretty decent. Good basic grammar is definitely key. Being able to explain what you're doing without making it hard to read is great. The only critiques I can really, get annoyed at are the trope ones. The realistic blood, more realistic textures. That's a little bit of an issue. But it's not so big of an issue that you're really going to be too worried about it. So, if this is really a first creepypasta, then good on you. This is pretty decent. Fish in the mirror. The fish is a shifting and shining creature that nobody has ever caught, but one that many say have had a glimpse in the depths of the mirrors. According to Halbert Allen Giles, belief in the fish is part of the layer of the larger myth that goes back to the times of the Yellow Empire. In those days, the world of mirrors and the world of men were not as they are now, cut off from each other. They were, besides, quite different. Neither beings nor colors nor shapes were the same. Both kingdoms lived in harmony. You could come and go through mirrors. One night, the mirror people invaded the earth. Their power was great, but at the end of a bloody warfare, the magic arts of the Yellow Empire prevailed. He repulsed the invaders, imprisoned them in their mirrors, and forced them to task of repeating, as though in a kind of dream, all the actions of men. He stripped them of their power of their forms to reduce them to mere reflections. Nonetheless, a day will come when the spell will be shaken off. The first to awaken will be the fish. Deep in the mirror, we will perceive a very faint line, and the color of this line will be like no other color. Later on, other shapes will begin to stir. Little by little they will differ from us. Little by little will they not imitate us. They will break through the barriers of glass or metal. Side by side with these mirror creatures, the creatures of water will join the battle. In Yunnan, they do not speak of the fish, but of the tiger of the mirror. Others believe that in advance of the invasion, we will hear from the depths of mirrors that the clatter of weapons, and this time, they will not be defeated. By, I assume, Panina's Cupcake. This is pretty good, I'd say. I can appreciate this one. Anything to do with mirrors and the manipulation and how they might actually be worlds to other portals to other worlds, or in some way. I think that's a really neat thing to think about and how that would work. So props to this one. We've gone through a lot of crap with these one-page creepypastas. There's a lot of bad ones, so it's nice to see a couple good ones. Or at the very least, good enough. The Fissure, an experimental prose. Written by Mr. Chili Dogs. Author's note. I wrote this when I was 12. I'm sorry if it sucks. The air blows across my face, leaving a fresh, cool, pure feeling around my body. I stare perplexed in front of this vast crevice, wondering what looms inside the endless vacuum of darkness. My mind rages with thoughts and possibilities. It is like an abyss, and when I stare down into it, I see a bigger chamber full of water. Below that, a grand hall of minerals and unexplored tunnels sit unexplored. I get down on my stomach and rest my chin on the very edge of the landscape. I focus my eyes down into the underground lake to see what lies beneath. And I certainly go to see something. And I certainly get to see something. The creature sends a piercing glare at me, and my head and sinuses start to feel pain. I still cannot move. The eyes are so beautiful, so pure, so gorgeous. It is impossible to explain such a thing. The ground around me cracks as the behemoth rises. 7 tentacles reach out of the water and begin to wave around with delight. My motionless corpse falls. I fall, yet so slowly. I stare into its extravagant eyes. So many emotions are trapped within them. I hear a set of words flow into my ears as I plunge into the... I don't think I want to even try that. Pin, glue, Megalonoph, Cthulhu, Raleigh, Goa, Nagil, Fatag. I don't know. I don't know if that's like a form of Latin or something. The monster boosts towards me at supersonic speed. This feels like it's trying to be the beginning of a Lovecraftian story. And actually, this is written really well, aside from a few things like unexplored tunnels sit unexplored. That's a little redundant. That could have done with a rewrite, but very minor things, because otherwise the grammar's really good. I guess we can look at this and see what that means. Alright. So, it's translated from what? Actually, we can use Google Translate, can't we? Oh. No details found. Okay. Alright, well, as far as we can tell, there's some Reddit, and then there's Wikipedia that say, in his house, dead Cthulhu of Raleigh waits dreaming. That's what it seems to read. That's interesting. Excuse me. Alright. 5 paragraphs. Note: this is a small addendum to the journal found in the pasta subject C. Therefore, if you have not read that pasta, some elements of this story may be hard to understand. We'll get to it when we get to it. The pasta. And so you are unfortunate enough to find this note. Because of this, you have been marked. Who else but Subject C? He can see you right now. There is one way to become unmarked. It may seem odd, but you must skip to the bottom of this page, the last paragraph. I can barely stay awake, but I must stay awake. Please go to the last paragraph. Let's read it and let's do what they tell us for the first read, and then I'll read it straight through. If you have read this directly after the first paragraph, congratulations. You are seen as a good enough specimen of human to stay alive, at least for now. I just have 2 requests for you now. The first is that you do not read the paragraphs before this. I do not care what they say. If you do now, you are marked for death. And second, please, pray for me. I can barely stay awake. I am so tired. Alright, so now we'll read it all the way through. And so you are unfortunate enough to find this note. Because of this, you have been marked. By who else but Subject C? He can see you right now. There is one way to become unmarked. It may seem odd, but you must skip to the bottom of this page, the last paragraph. I can barely stay awake. But I must stay awake. Please, go to the last paragraph. This is excusable. You may have skimmed the last paragraph and skipped the part about skipping through the last paragraph. I can understand that, and so can Subject C. But I request you one thing. You know what that is. Do not read the next paragraph, and skip to the last one. This is the forbidden paragraph. The ignorance of what it reads preserves everything you in your now insignificant life. Tell family you love them. Mend broken friendships. Resolve all arguments. Make yourself decent before you go. He will not get you until you sleep, but you will not stay awake forever. Be warned, ye dead one. You have been marked for death. We, Subject C and I can excuse this. I can understand your curiosity. You might have read the two below the second paragraph and found a loophole. Just count yourself lucky that this one isn't like the one above this. Your life rests now in your self-control. Do not read the paragraph above. The first time I saw this, it was kind of interesting, but I think this might be another one of those arbitrary tropes trying to tell you not to read a thing and then entices you to read it. I feel like the issue with this, even though it's well written and it's very interesting, I feel like the main issue is that you are, I guess in a sense of subjugating the reader and enticing them to read something. And it just seems counterintuitive, I suppose. Like, why would you tell someone not to read something when you're basically drawing them into it? Don't draw attention to something that you don't want drawn attention to. Sometimes it is that simple, not always. Five. It's amazing what you can get used to. It's gone to the point that I'm actually glad it happened. Whatever the hell it was. I guess it's been about a year now, and I'm pretty sure they operate on roughly 5 weeks, on a roughly 5-week loop, or what I call the 5. They just thoughtlessly repeat the last 35 days before they died, I guess. It's hard to tell, since their bodies are as warm and fresh as the day I woke up in this ridiculous new world. They never starve, they never age, they just relive the 5 over and over for as long as physically possible. It took me a while to get over the crazies, of course, and I came close to killing myself countless times. At first I held out hoping I might find someone else like me, someone else inexplicably spared. By the time I gave up, I realized I was having too much fun to care. The loop isn't perfect, of course. Things wear down, accidents happen. A lot of them are sitting in their broken down cars, still pumping the pedals unless I intervene. Where's the pizza guy who comes up to the neighbor's house every night, empty-handed, handing over nothing to a door that hasn't been opened since I chopped that one up? The clusterfucks at airports are increasingly funny, and you should see the creepy shit that goes on in the hospitals. For now, at least, select pieces of civilization are still functioning. People, or what used to be people, are still running the grids, still manufacturing and shipping out products, still flipping burgers, whatever burgers are still delivered. Whatever work was originally accomplished during the 5. Now and then I have to do some detective work, figure out which link was broken down somewhere important to me, and do whatever I can to set it back on track. Sometimes I just have to aim one back in the right direction. Sometimes I have to replace tires, refuel fuel tanks, clear massive rotten piles of groceries, whatever it takes to keep the food and power coming to at least my new estate. It can't all last forever, of course, but I'm enjoying what I can. When the horror wears off, it's pretty nice to feel like the center of the universe. To know you're now literally the smartest person in the world. To be able to do damn near anything you please. When they're completely removed from their routine, pulled off their imaginary train tracks, they just sort of give up. They're like semi-responsive dolls. You can dress them and pose them and do all the violent, ugly shit you ever dreamed. I used to tie masks on them, stuffed with clothes. But I've started to prefer them just the way they are, even if, at the end of the day, it still makes me wonder, and it still drives me crazy. Am I the last whole human being on Earth? I used to have 1,000 questions, but now I only have one. Where exactly did all the heads go? Credit to Jonathan Watchkick. Okay, so they literally don't have their heads. And for some reason they're repeating this loop. This one's actually really interesting. I'd like to see this as a live action short movie. I think it would do really well. Be a lot of fun. You could... Yeah, all you would have to do is expand a little more and just show the things that are happening. Just fill in the world, you know? I think this one's actually really good. It's one I recommend to people. Alright, let me get something to drink. I'll be right back. Hot mic. Actually, let me go ahead and open this door. Okay. It says 67 Fahrenheit outside. It's really hot in here. Oops, sorry. I just opened the door with a screen door behind it, so now should be bringing a large chunk of that nice cool air in. Excuse me. Flames. It burns. I was enjoying my daily activities, waking up at 5 a.m., playing video games, eventually going to the computer and sitting so long it made my ass ache. I ate some food eventually, because really, who has the time for food when you have the wonders of the internet at your fingers? I baked my scrumptious chicken in the oven and prepared the table. I even lit some candles so I could feast on the tasty meal and also see its tenderness. The plates were set, and I grabbed a knife and fork. The kitchen had just finished baking. The kitchen was gingerly placed on a big platter. I threw some spices on it and a bit of butter and lemon. It was perfect. I went into the living dining room and placed the chicken on my own plate down. But I realized I had forgotten my drink. A nice and fresh Coca-Cola. I came back into the room, but what did I see? I saw the candles burning my fucking chicken. Not the entire candles themselves, but the flames. I was a bit frightened at first, but I remembered. I was a hungry motherfucker. Now I wanted to just eat my chicken. But these little fucks had ruined my perfect meal. These things burned my fucking chicken. I did what any normal person would do. I put my Coca-Cola down on the table and I grabbed a random bucket of water out of nowhere and drenched the paranormal flames. All that was left was my burnt, wet chicken and my empty plate and utensils, the Coca-Cola, and the burned out candles. The bucket also magically went away because it just does. After that day, I never saw any weird flames again. And they better not come back, or I'll fuck them up. By CMB Dragon 666. Flame spirits. I'd probably be more angry that my food is gone too. I mean, after all, at what point when you're really hungry, what's going to feel like that matters most? The fact that those spirits are there, or that the food you had just prepared could take you upwards to an hour? For that chicken, it probably took about 20-30 minutes. See all that investment go out when you'd gotten it just right. Be a pain in the ass. Anyway. Flesh. He ran. He ran away from the pursuer relentlessly chasing through the city streets unseen by the people around him. His neck sweating and hands cold, he dared not turn his head, for fear of the many long flesh coils choking him and taking him to whatever they reside. He turned into an alley. He darted behind the broken section of brick wall, a sigh of relief escaping his lips. He turned his head down to think about his situation. After catching his breath and waiting for a few minutes, he looked outside. She was gone. Silently and stealthily, he walked out and turned to walk away. Before his eyes, a lovely woman, the one who had been chasing him. He had no time to run, and the fleshy mass of coil appendages appeared around his waist and lifted him in the air, leaving him gasping slightly. She smiled coyly at him, the beautiful teeth belaying the evil she had hidden in her. One of the tentacles, a thinner one, had emerged from her back and made its way to her face. She kissed it before it lashed out, slicing through the man's shirt. He screamed in agony, begging to be let down, to which the woman shook her head in reply. He pleaded, but she would be having none of that. The flesh-colored pole muffled him as others roamed his body, the liquid melting his shirt, jeans, and burning his skin. Her grin grew wider as he tried to escape, biting and squirming. Soon his chest and legs were bare, and he smelled of fluorine due to the liquid. Soon the fleshy poles leaked a bright green fluid as they tugged at his arms and legs. It was sticky, like the strongest Velcro as they stretched his wrists and ankles. Slowly his ligaments came undone, but he did not scream, for the fluid was also numbing the pain. Sometime later he was found, limbs removed, and his jaw red with pressure. He could no longer speak. However, he was crawling slightly, with what looked like, experts say, pink fleshy tentacles. Alright, I know this is completely wrong because of time. I got Poppy Playhouse vibes of Mommy. Now, I haven't played that game or anything, I just know about a few of the characters. I thought that was interesting. Could you imagine that kind of thing? How would Poppy's Playhouse be if that's how one of them was? I think this is really interesting. You don't know what's going on, but you're getting a huge, fairly in-depth explanation of what's going on and what's happening, but you don't know why or how. All you know is what. And now he is supposedly turning into one of those things. Flickering light bulbs. The next time you see a light bulb flicker, put your ear to your TV and make sure the static is on. You will hear a sharp, demonic, purely evil voice beckoning you to turn off the lights. If you hear anything else, you must get a candle wick and rub it on the TV. Failure to do so will result in the lights going out, and then a cold, hard, almost as if it was made of stone, hand will grab you and kill you. If you hear the beckoning, whatever you do, don't turn off the lights. If you look out the window, you will see your light bulb floating outside the window, with a cold, hard statue holding it suspended. You will black out. You will not remember the events of the night, but you will know you are now that statue. Well, make sure you got good lights. Lights flicker all the time. Most of the time people have LEDs anyway now. Incandescent are just incredibly inefficient. Anyone that's dabbled in electronics understands how much energy it wastes. Alright. Take a deep breath. Flight risk. Take a breath. You're about to be face to face with something much bigger than you. The parachute is tightly placed on your back as you are loaded into the plane. But as soon as the plane is about to take off, something else does not feel right at all. Your heart is racing, and your knees are weak. You pray that your chute opens, just as soon as you feel that all too often fear of heights. Your parachute instructor tells you that you are fine. Then the worst happens. Your parachute instructor tells you to climb onto the wing and hold on tight. You grasp for air because you are up thousands of feet in the air. You soon begin to sweat, too much for the other people on the plane to take. Your stomach begins to turn in the thought of losing your footing, and you start to hold on even tighter than before. The people begin to shout, "Let go and stand up." You are too terrified, so you just yell you can't. The instructor helps you up and tells you to jump. Your subconscious mind tells you there is something crazy going on, but the impulse side of you tells you that you can accomplish this. Here is the moment. This is the time that you decide what will happen. What if you have a faulty chute? What if it does not open? But you never know until you try. So you stand up, find your footing, and before you are about to jump, you fall. The chute opens, but it's too late. Fear of heights is only in someone's imagination. The idea of this fear comes with the injury that is inflicted in the fall. Most people, including myself, are kind of creeped out about the grave risks that you take only for a few minutes of being able to fly. There have been instances of where people have died because they wanted to experience the miracle of flight, but waited too long to get the ability to fly. So next time, if you want to do something like what I depicted above, look before you leap. That's interesting. It's like a story that takes the next logical step in your potential fear of heights. Something that makes sense and you completely understand it, but something will still do. This is a good one. I like this one. Flipbook. As a kid, I loved making flipbooks. They were all I did in art class, whenever I had it. I worked really hard on one particular flipbook that was around 50 pages long, I guess. It had a simple stick figure walking onto the page, waving at me and then walking off. I would look at it as if at least a dozen times a day that I made it. Then it got boring. You know how kids are. Not entertained by one thing for very long. I tossed it under my bed and never gave it a second thought. A few months later, I was cleaning up my room and swept the stack of paper out from under my bed. I couldn't quite remember what it was. I flipped through it once and got a sweet taste of nostalgia. I flipped through it once more and I noticed the pages hadn't aged or gotten dirty at all. I flipped through a third time. A little stick man walked onto the page, waved at me, but didn't walk off. Instead, a second stick man joined him. It waltzed up, having either an item in its hand or a severely disfigured arm. It's not like anyone could tell the difference. The second stick man walked to the first stick man, stood there for a moment, then whacked the poor fellow upside the head. The stick figure fell, and the second stick figure swung his stick with the other arm at the other arm man, again and again and again. What I assume was its blood ran from the stick figures rather than jagged body. It looked like nothing more than smeared pencil stains. The killer stickman proceeded to bend down and tear apart the first stickman's body, limb by thin limb. Once he was done, he bent each into the characters and letters. He sat them upon the page to form a single word. He grabbed the base of his very own round head and tore it off. Then he tore off his legs, and then one of his arms. His zigzag body parts formed themselves into a second word. What I read made me burn in the flip book. You're next. Yeah, I'd probably burn it too. It shouldn't be like that. Flip the switch. 3, 3, 2, 2. 3 small washers. 3 small nuts. 2 large nuts. 2 large washers. Put them in the small envelope. Fold it. Put it in the electric stapler. Then put it in the box. This was what Stephen had to do all day, every day. Just the same repetitive task. He yawned and turned to face the wall to his left. Suddenly the wall was made of rock, and the room became incredibly hot. He looked back at his work and sighed. He picked up 3 small pieces of bone, 3 small bits of bloody, 2 large bits of bloody meat, 2 large pieces of bone. He put the into a small flesh bag, folded it, and stuck it into the mouth of a bat. It bit down on the bag, and then he turned it into a small. Then he put it into a big skull with the other flesh bags. Rinse and repeat. After a few minutes, he heard a screeching voice behind him. "Are you okay, Stephen?" This caused him to drop a few bits on the floor. He turned to face that she-demon. "I'm fine, man. Just a little hot." "Alright, just pick up those pieces and get some water." He watched his supervisor, a kind old lady, walk away. He bent down and picked up a couple of large nuts and washers. He then picked up a small piece of bone. "Damn," he muttered, putting it into his pocket. "Why don't the small bones change back after being dropped?" Credited to Vortan. The mundanity of work is what this feels like it's about. Your mind trying to provide something. The idea that this guy might be experiencing some kind of psychopathy, is that it? So, you know, there's the psychological change, mental changing. Flower fan of doom. Amy raced out of her bedroom and turned on her laptop. She was ready to plug in her flower fan. Now, in case you don't know, a flower fan is a special fan that can be plugged into your computer. Eager to try it out, Amy turned on the computer and waited for the desktop to come up. When she did, she pressed the on button on the fan. What the? Nothing happened. Oh, come on, I paid money for this thing. Work. As if it could hear her, the fan suddenly turned on, but it didn't go at a normal speed. It went faster than it should. It was even making a wind all by itself. It sucked in Amy's charm bracelet, which was on the desk next to the fan. "Oh, hell no," screeched Amy. She reached in to get the bracelet, but realized it was sucking her in. It dragged her into the blades, and blood splashed everywhere. Internal organs splattered against the walls of the living room, and Amy let out a distorted scream. From outside, her mother heard Amy's screams. "Oh, it's so good Amy's being active for once. Just listen to those screams of joy. I hope the neighbors don't mind a little noise," she said as she sipped a cup of tea. I feel like the bigger horror is the incredible amount of apathy. It's a bad parent. And a bad fan. By, I can assume, Pokemon Rocks 111. Alright. Okay. Flutter. I am writing this, not as a warning, but a personal experience I should share with you. I live in a fairly suburban area of St. Kilda, located in Australia. Somewhat tourist-based, a passerby would talk to me. In these instances, my day was usually lifted and happier, but not this time. I was traveling down along the beach side, when a man caught my eye. He was fairly large with stubby facial hair. He wore a large San Francisco t-shirt. Another peculiar aspect was that he had an abnormally large scar from the back of his skull to down past his t-shirt. He took a seat on the wooden bench, groaning as he did so. I walked past, smiling and waving at the man. I walked on, but to be grabbed by the man. His moist hand slipped along my arm uncomfortably as he pulled me into the seat. "Why are you being kind to me?" he asked in a low, rumbling voice. "I wasn't. I just like to greet people who look sad or need some cheering up." The man, his eyes flaring, pushed me to the ground, my head hitting the sidewalk, my vision blurry. He grabbed my collar, choking me slightly. "I have no intentions to solve your cries for attention." He threw me aside and sat back down. I passed out. I awoke on St. Kilda Beach, my mouth full of sand, spitting it out, rubbing my eyes, as the beach looked hazy. But it wasn't my eyes. The beach was like a sauna full of steam. I lifted myself off the ground. I had a pounding headache. In an attempt to leave the beach, I ran. I just kept running. The beach didn't end. I ran for what felt like almost forever. Tears came out of my face. Screams came out of my mouth. When I spotted what looked like a plane, when I spotted what I thought was a plane, I waved my arms, jumping and screaming out for help. What I thought was a plane turned out to be something quite more ferocious. A giant butterfly was his first impression. But as it came closer, I saw a tail with a giant piercing claw. I began to run more, always looking behind me. It screeched and twirled much faster than I could run. I knew my running was over as I kneeled on the beach. What happened next still haunts my dreams to this day. The claw of that beast's tail pierced into my neck, and I was lifted off the ground upside down. Blood drained from my wound, and I remember the sand being under me until I dropped. The last I remember was my spinning vision in some sort of hospital ward. I looked out the window to see the man lying in the grass. I yelled for the man, my body aching. He walked to the window, tears smearing my view as he whispered, "Who's scared of a little butterfly?" That one was a little hard to follow. I couldn't quite tell what all was going on. It just kind of went from scene to scene with little to no relation. It was very interesting though, imagery wise. It kept my attention. I just couldn't figure out what was going on. I'm sorry. Oh, these are the same. So I can delete one of these. Nope. We can just delete that one. There we go. We've dropped by one. Focus. Did you ever see one of those videos where you were asked to look for or follow a specific thing throughout the video? Then at the end they revealed that as you were watching, something large and intrusive moved around in plain sight and you never even noticed? It's frightening how often that happens. I just moved from the doorway into your room as you read this. Now that'd be interesting. I could see that being I could see someone doing that as a short. I could do that as a short. Alright. Folly of Demux. The hollow midnight wind ripped through my hair as the smoke poured from my dry lips. The vibrant colors I usually treat myself to had been replaced with shades of blue. The moonlight wasted on the clouds. There was a familiar scent in the air, but the more I thought about it, the more I couldn't figure it out. I took a deep drag on my cigarette, looked at it, and flicked it to the ground. I observed it as it rolled into the road, and admired for a moment the silver of the smoke as it burned out. "I know how you feel," I whispered as I turned towards the horizon. Though my worn-out shoes, I left every imperfection on the pavement, made worse by the blisters from walking. I didn't know how far I'd been, but I know where I was headed, where all of this was taking me. I had set off almost 5 days ago, and had only stopped to shield my lighter. As I stuffed atop the hill, I looked down at the all too familiar sight of my house. My white front door, that really needed painting, was the same color as the summer evening. I forced my feet to go on, but it was more likely for a river to flow uphill. I stumbled, as if I was being pushed away. I kept trying. I needed to get home. I felt like a child longing to chase the rainbow, full of false hopes, of cauldrons filled with gold, but I was unaware of what lay at the end of my rainbow. Feet, don't fail me now, I chanted, as I charged through the metaphorical quicksand. A gust of wind tugged me forward as dry leaves shredded the innocent breeze that held me. But a moment earlier, I fell down to one knee, felt a surge of skin being broken, and winced. However, half of me was just happy to feel something. By now my fingers could touch my winter-worn door handle. I reached inside my jacket for my keys. I prodded the sharp edge, and something flashed in front of my eyes. But I put it to the back of my mind. My knees were as relieved as me when I slipped the key into the lock. It was a little stiff, but it always has been. With a slight push, the door swung open. Within 2 steps, I realized why I had started walking in the first place. I gazed up at the blood dangling from the light fixture, an almost perfect teardrop of the stuff coated in the ceiling. At the tip, it had fallen down and over my mirror. Small droplets coated most things I could see. There was a man lying on his chest, on top of the broken coffee table. A shattered glass lay beside a rifle and a spent shell. As I reached down to see who the person was lying dead on my floor, one thing became perfectly clear, and it hit me so hard that I fell back and ran out of the house. Because it wasn't just suicide. It was my suicide. Part of that was almost poetic. And just because it's a disclaimer since the subject came up, if you're ever having issues like that where you're thinking of committing to unaliving yourself, please try and seek help. There are many numbers in different areas. I think it changed in America a few years ago, but try and get help. Talk to someone. Follow. Alright, these are some simple directions. First, find out if anyone died in your house. Second, make sure you read this at exactly midnight on Friday. While you're reading this, you will lose focus on what is going on around you and whatever room you're in. By now, you will be looking around the room. While you are looking around the room, the person that has died in your house has now entered the room you're in. Now look behind you and then to your left or right, and then come back to read this now. Go ahead, look in front of you. Look in front of you. Will not see anything because the dead person is right above you, waiting for you to see them. If you looked up, the dead person has gone away, hiding under your bed, couch, or bathroom. Do not go to check, or they will get you. Since you are still reading this, the dead person in your house has brought some friends to follow it into your house to get you. Have fun. An interesting and simple thought experiment by Dream Hacked. It is interesting to find out the history of one's house. It would be something that I'd recommend for anyone. Certainly wouldn't hurt. Fool's Poem. I venture forth, told to go back, but I don't. I welcome fear like a common joke. I'm a fool, you see, and I don't care what happens to me, ignoring everyone that cares about me. Even though I'm told that no one survives Smuggler's Cove, I venture forth with my flashlight in the other hand my 4-4. I hear a sound that startles me like a snake. I stop in my tracks like I just saw the rake. I hear the sound of soft weeping. I turn around to see a creature in the corner, I have a chance to run and make my escape. But before I could move, I was a goner. She dug her teeth into me and I slowly became a memory of the fool that went to Smuggler's Cove and never came back. Why didn't I leave when I had the chance? I should have listened to my friends. Shit. The Let Me Smash got me all mixed up. Shit. Ugh. It's fucking brain fog. God damn it. Alright. I need to finish the story. She dug her teeth into me and I slowly became a memory of the fool that went to Smuggler's Cove and never came back. Why didn't I leave when I had the chance? I should have listened to my friends. When they told me no, but I had to be the fool and I had to go. Now I'm dead in Smuggler's Cove, with my last words being no. That one's pretty interesting. Almost a self-fulfilling type thing, because you know what's happening in the beginning, or you can pretty much figure it out. I think that was a fun one. Dead Ghost Party, woohoo! Hello, the Horn Burglar 96. How's it going? There's something in my goddamn eye. Oh. It's like 80 degrees in here. I'm trying to read through 8,000 creepypasta stream by stream. Some of them I'll consider making into actual videos on YouTube. Good, and yourself? I've been a bit down. I wasn't sure I was up for the stream, but I'm going ahead for it anyway. We had a pet pass away, and it was like our daughter to us, so we're still kind of grieving, and we're trying to cheer up. I've been down all day, so trying to get a little better, but I don't need to be dumping shit. How many have we gone through so far? Alright, 748 stories we've read through so far. And there's still 8,000, about 8,050, give or take. Something like that. Or, there's a lot. This is just crazy and ridiculous. And there's a lot of these single page ones that are just awful, so I can't wait till I actually get past all of them. It's gonna be awesome when I can finally get to 1,000. Get a whole 1/8 of it done. Alright, next story. It is tough, I can imagine, but the irony to grieve is love, and love is its roots. Yeah, I get that. Everyone's got their methods and stuff. Alright. Footfalls. You stand at the top of the stairs looking down into the black abyss below you. The only source of light is the neon blue 106 on the digital clock installed on your microwave, and you can only see that out of the very corner of your eye. As you gaze below, down the steps that appear to go on forever into the impenetrable darkness. Half of every fiber in your being insists you don't go down the stairs. The other half encourages you to knowing you absolutely need your laptop. Half of you says, "You have no idea what's down there, Alice." The other half contradicts. "You know nothing is down there. It's your own house, for Christ's sake. There aren't any windows. The logical side of you wins. You take the first creaking step down the first stair. Only 12 more steps to go. Even on the first step, all sense of sight and coordination is lost. The cold glow of sky blue doesn't reach even this far down. You grasp the wood railing with white knuckles. You take another step down. 11 more. As you slowly ease down each step, the inky blackness seems to get blacker. You're only at the bottom of the staircase, and you feel like the darkness is enveloping you, choking you. Without the guidance of the railing, you are at the mercy of the bleak, dark basement. Without the guidance of the railing, you are at the mercy... Okay, there we go. That should have been a comma there. You hold your arms out to make sure you don't walk into the wall. As you turn the corner, you whack your knee against the workbench. You wince in pain, letting out a slight whimper as you feel the warm blood trickle down your leg. You observe that your eyes aren't even getting used to the darkness yet. As soon as this thought crosses your mind, you freeze in your spot as you hear a faint rustling. The hair stands up on the back of your neck and you start to sweat, heart pounding. There's someone down here. Is the thought that it incessantly buzzes through your mind. Over and over you tell yourself that you're not alone. You start to breathe more and more heavily as you grow more and more of your as you gain more and more of your composure. The paranoid "I'm not alone here" train of thought gives way to the less incredulous "it was only a bug" rodent thought. That was a sentence. You begin to move again, making your way to the table which your laptop rests. You reach the small table and quickly snatch the computer up into your arms. You spin around, your bare feet sliding on the pavement floor. Making your way back to the stairs is noticeably easier, despite the fact that your eyes still haven't adjusted to the surrounding darkness. You stand there for a mere matter of moments, but the longer you stand, still, the more paranoid you get and the more vulnerable you feel. With an urgent speed in your steps, you finish making your way to the staircase. As you're about to turn the corner and mount the first step of your ascent, you hear the cellar door slam. You run up to the first couple steps and freeze in your spot, terrified and alone in the dark. You can't move, even if you wanted to. From above, you hear the quick footsteps as something descends the staircase towards you. Now this one's actually really good. Taking you all around the fear of the dark and stuff. I think it's a really interesting way to present itself. I really wish the author was on here back in 2013, 2014. I wasn't really getting them right, and there were so many of them that were anonymous anyway. If they had a credit listed afterwards or in the beginning, I would always make sure to grab it, but whoever this is a really good story. I actually really like the way this one's set up. It rises and falls really well. You feel the sense of climax and it leaves you on a cliffhanger, like as proper as it can be to leave everything to the imagination. Footsteps above the house. I warn you. The story I'm about to recount is 100% factual and actually happened to me. Proceed at your own risk. Story. Back in November of 2012, I moved into a new apartment complex next door to a knowingly haunted graveyard. Even the complex has a reputation of terrifying instances. It wasn't long until I found myself home alone one day. I had headphones in, so when I felt the thuds against the frame of the building, I assumed my dad had gotten home. Taking out the earbud, I turned my head to the door and waited for it to open and to see my father. But that didn't happen. Instead, I jumped at a sudden thud from above me. Then the thuds got quicker and sounded as if someone or something was running. Above me. Now, some would wonder why this is an issue in an apartment, but you see, I live on the top floor of my building. It's now February, and I still hear the being the being above me running where it so pleases. I've gotten used to the noises. They hardly even faze me anymore, though there's just one more fact to the story. One night, I laid on my stomach and kicked my feet up because I didn't want them to hang over the edge, and maybe 3 minutes passed before I felt someone move to grab my legs. I barely missed the being touching my legs as I flipped over in a panic. To this very day, I experience these instances daily. That one's okay. The ending here, I think, is more problematic. I really doubt that's true, but I can totally believe the rest of it. Could there be an explanation? There could be. I remember hearing sounds in the house, and I finally got an explanation of how certain spots that the water runs through shakes off a whole bunch of bugs or something, and sometimes it sounds like creaking, and for whatever reason, with the way the house was shaped, it sounded like it was coming from the ceiling. I don't know. Something about sound reverberation in objects. Conceptually interesting, but as far as this very ending, that you experience instances like that daily, I feel like you would need a little more. Is he just talking about this, or is he also talking about the hearing the footsteps running? I think if I should be charitable and say the footsteps, probably not so much the grabbing legs thing. Something more subtle, if you will. Come on. Way to go. There we go. Sorry, I was screwing something up. Alright. Okay. Now... Shit. I'll refresh it. Sorry, I'm doing some fixing on my, my side over here. Where is... Yeah, and then put this down here. Okay. Oh well. Oh, the Hornberg 96. Thanks for the follow. I appreciate that. You didn't have to do that. I will say that this isn't always my normal content. I try to broaden myself. I don't have much that I stream because I have this idea of how I want my YouTube channel to work initially, so a lot of this is going to be pending, but because this is going to be separate, I might change things a bit because I'm very recent on Twitch, as you can see. I'll figure something out. Right now, the only other thing I do is stream Minecraft. I don't think I've done that on Twitch yet. but I have plenty of other games that I'd like to stream, and currently I can't really hook up consoles to my setup right now. I just don't have the equipment or the space. But one day, I really want to play a lot of games and experience them with people. But I have Steam, so there's that. Steam, Galaxy of Games, and whatever else. A few emulators. I've got that. Alright. For a friend. You are a great pal. You motivate me to do this. You were there for me when they judged me, criticized me, bullied me. You were there. You were the motivation for me to get over them. You were the motivation for my revenge. You always called me the most disgusting of... They always called me the most disgusting of names. I never had friends because of them. Except you. You stood by my side all the way. You'd never leave my side, especially not now. Especially not now that you know what I did to them. They deserve what they got. I wouldn't have minded if they weren't my friend, but they didn't have to ruin my life. I gave them exactly what they deserved. You were special, though. There's no way I'd ever do to you what I did to them. At least, not as long as you don't betray me. You know I was a troubled child, yet despite that you stood by my side, even in my darkest hour. You saw what I did. Though you didn't initially support my idea, I managed to convince you that it was for the best. You stood faithfully by my side. Even as I was covering myself in the blood of those who despised, opposed, and hated me, you were always a good friend. My dearest friend. Whenever I see that they added it to the original wiki, I can only assume that this person, Luna Levinci, is the potential author. Do what you gotta do, brother, with your content. Do love some good creepypastas. Yeah, I was gonna do it all... Yeah, doing it all month. I can only really stream on Saturdays. I've got one of those, second shift, Monday through Friday jobs, and then Saturday is normally dedicated to all kinds of other shit. So, at least as of right now, it's not like I can really do too much. I can just build what I can with Twitch until I can maybe start making money to fund it and start getting other things to boost my equipment or just take care of bills and shit. I'd probably just start by putting it in savings. God, wouldn't that be a wonder? But that'll probably be a year or so from now. For the few. I'm the easiest to talk to because I go by so many different names. Every person in every country has heard of me and spoken of me when things are at their very worst. And I'm so easy to call upon. All you have to do is ask. No ritual to adhere to, no prayer, no personal relationship. Just ask. Once, earnestly. I'm ever so popular. I'm in your music, your news, and even in your food. I'm Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, Hephaestus, and Notches. I was there, guiding the hand of Shakespeare, Dahmer, and Spielberg alike. You've seen me time and time again. Now an old man, then a little girl. You brought groceries from me. You bought groceries from me the other day, actually. Hell, if you want to be really personal, some of you make love to me on the regular basis. You're not bad either. I like you. I am mother to some of you, father to others, and I am proud of the way you turned out. But here's the pitch. I am powerful, and you are not. I have legions, and you are alone. I can make you mine for all eternity, if you like. And it's so easy, you could almost do it by mistake. All you have to do is ask. Not even in words, just want it. Want me. Want to join me. If you aren't convinced by my influence, turn on the TV and look at the eyes of newscasters while they lie to you. Go to church and look into the eyes of the sermonizing sinner, casting the first heavy stone at the congregation. Hell, look into the eyes of a friend, a loved one, or a stranger. Most of them are mine anyway. Oh shit, I know what this is. This is the perspective of the idea that God is something else. Okay, I get it. I see what's going on. That the idea that the God that's in control is actually something else. Omniscient, omnipresent being. Omniscient, omnipresent, benevolent, all benevolent being. I got it. I see what's going on. Okay, so no, I've seen the idea of that. Does all the things. That's an interesting way to have perspective. I feel like it's not as well explained. Like I got it at the end. It was pretty much the sermonizing sinner that really got me lying to their congregation, because there's so many people that potential people that may be considered huge scams, cons, frauds. And you see it when you see some of the interviews they're in. Like, what's his name? Not Ken Ham. Is it? Said he didn't want to be in a tube with a bunch of demons or whatever. Kenneth Copeland. I think that's who it is. Kenneth Copeland. He has 3 jets or whatever. Has a huge super church, mega church. Somehow has an incredibly extravagant house, lots of land, his own fleet. Yeah, that's a little ridiculous. It makes other people look bad. All right. So I've been going at it for 2 hours, and just like a job, I'm gonna do breaks every 2 hours generally. So let me get back to it. All right. Did we get a... Did it come up? Did it not come up? Hold on. Is it not here? Why is it not come up? Is nothing selected for it? Oh, that's probably why. Nothing selected for it. Okay. I'll have to see if I can fix that. Alright. Okay. Alright, so feel free to get up, stretch your legs, get something to eat, get something to drink, go to the bathroom, do whatever it is you need to do, you know what you're doing. It's been 2 hours of streaming, and I need to go ahead and take a break and stretch my legs and get refreshments myself. So I'll be back in about 10 to 20 minutes. This is the intermission. Okay, and we're back. Let me just make sure the chat still works. Oh, son of a... Okay. And it's working. Cool. Awesome. Oh, I need to stir it. Right. I made some peppermint tea. Alright, real quick. Alright. Follows. Okay, add alert. Follows. No, there's something else. Come on, give me my fucking edit. Wait, where is... I had this set up before where I had everything taken care of. Because I had it on a Zelda one. So I have it set up for the YouTube one. I don't have it for is everything right now, huh? There's no search. No, and it's too early for Christmas shit. It's always too early. I worked at Walmart, I know what I'm talking about. Fucking Walmart. Sources and settings, tile message. So I haven't uploaded a thing. This is different than what I remember. So I used to have something for it. Shit. I think it was Majora's Mask. And this won't let me just search it. Shit. Okay. Yeah, I'll just set it to that for now. I'll figure it out later. Excuse me. Alright. Yeah, I'll just figure it out later. I don't need to be doing this on stream. Okay. Foresight. No one escapes. Julie was an average high school student who made average grades and did average things a normal girl her age would. Well, that is until it came time for her to sleep. Death, now more than ever, filled Julia's dreams. Julia had been in a wreck that, by all reasonable means, should have killed her. After the wreck, Julie rarely slept. When she did, she would dream of how people were going to die the next day. Some were people she knew, others were complete strangers. She used the foresight to help people avoid dying. Because of this, she became known as the Death Girl, who could tell when someone was going to die and save them. As a result of her popularity, she was given photos of the people she had saved. She had hung them on the wall above her bed as a reminder of what service she was doing. She was helping people cheat death, and she herself has done in an accident. Her mother had saved her, sacrificing her own life to protect her. She literally would have died. She literally should have died. One night, in Julia's dreams, she dreamt that there would be an earthquake and that something would fall on her head. Waking up, she quickly removed the pictures from her bed, patting herself on the back once again for outsmarting death. That night, when she slept, an earthquake hit, and just as she had foreseen. Almost. The quake shook loose a part of her ceiling, which came down on her, killing her. Before she died, she saw a vision of a figure in a black cloak. He told her that no one escapes him. Several houses collapsed that night. Many people were killed. Curiously, the newspapers never put together that they were all people Julia had saved. Oh, that's sad. I like the way that wraps around, though. That's a really good way to do it. By Shinigami Eyes. I've seen Shinigami Eyes a lot when I was initially copy-pasting these to a drive. And Shinigami Eyes and there's another one, Cheese Lord. They tend to be at the center of a lot of the better creepypastas like this. Forgot. I almost forgot. I almost forgot what it was like outside the woods. These woods have stood for 1,000 years. So have I. I forgot my name, but not my crime. New ones come in, and they are no different. They will be just like me soon. Just need to fix them, rend them, tear them. Now they are just like me, banished to the ever-free forest as the bloody hooves. As the bloody hooves. So that's a weird way to say it, but what is a bloody hooves? We can find this out. Ooh. Oh, I don't like it. So I'm seeing images of like degloved horses, and it's awful. I'm not showing that on here. Ugh. Ooh, it's just awful. No, I'm not. I didn't get an answer for that. I don't know what. I don't want to look at it anymore. Okay. Forgotten Minecraft server. One day, my friend and I decided to start searching for a Minecraft server on the Minecraft server listings. Every time we do something like this, I tell my friend a random server IP and we join to see if we can grief. One time I found a server's IP and we joined. The spawn had a long grass field and a freshly built town in the middle. My friend and I began to grieve, but some blocks were protected. We could only break the windows and some of the torches. In the end, we only destroyed a few corners of the houses. It was like someone just randomly assigned random blocks to be protected, whilst others are not. Another thing my friend and I found on this server was a fountain of some sort. Though, when we both got closer to it, we started losing health. So we decided to get out of that small town and explore. So we exited the town. We learned that the field was flat and limited. It was also floating above a body of water. We tried griefing a few areas, but it had protection as well. The field was ungriefable, but there were holes in the terrain. As we explored more, we found this little mansion. We broke into it. Inside, there was a trampoline with a cake next to it. My friend decided to go stand next to him, and suddenly he started getting thrown into the air. Once in a while, he would hit the ground and lose health, but there was nothing I could do because if I did go next to him, I would get shoved back. I waited until he died, and then started exploring the mansion for a bit. I came across a staircase that had the same property as the trampoline, meaning when I got there it would shove me back. But I managed to sprint to get up the floor. The floor had nothing special in it, so we left the house. We started exploring the terrain and found tons of beta holes. But this was the full version. We explored more and found that the ground would switch drastically in terrain, which means we would go from flat to mountainous instantly. Like, the admin stopped the generating process and converted the map to a new version. We found a few rivers of lava and obsidian that didn't look like it should mix with the forest biome at all. After 20 minutes of exploring, a person joined. He said, "Who are you?" My friend and I replied, "Hi," and they said, "Get out and don't come back." He banned my friend, and before he banned me, I said, "Wait, who are you?" At that moment, I was banned. I tried joining back right away, but then it was whitelisted. After a few months, my friend and I somehow joined back, and when we joined back, the town was mostly destroyed, and my friend and I started exploring again. We will update this page if we find anything worth mentioning. We have found recently, April 24th, 2012, the body of water under the field is almost totally drained out. Yeah, I could see that being interesting. Someone has a world that doesn't work the same way as you would think. And I do like that they kept the Minecraft world in Minecraft. And like, okay, to get killed, not deal. What's creepy is the circumstances. That's what can set apart a lot of different Minecraft, or a lot of different gaming creepypasta. Because there's a lot of bad ones because they keep using the same tropes. Nothing needs to be hyper-realistic. If the game itself can't be made into something scary, and you have to go to those tropes, I don't think it's going to turn out very well, like 80% of the time. Forgotten vending machine. There is a village somewhere in England that has not been inhabited for over 20 years. It has long since been forgotten off of most maps, and only has one road in and out of it. If you manage to find it, it will seem a peaceable enough place. The derelict buildings being overgrown and nature taking back the land for herself. However, somewhere within the village is a vending machine. Oh, that's supposed to be vending machine. Forgotten vending machine. I can fix that real quick, actually. Vending machine which still has power. It will still have its original look and sell ordinary brands of drink, though with 20-year-old packaging. However, the one at the very bottom will be marked E. Pay only in 10p pieces to buy this drink. Before drinking the mysterious beverage, peer inside the can and check out its color. Do not try to pour some out. It will refuse to leave the can despite the vigorous shaking you may attempt. If it is a green color, drink hardly, as it will give you an unnaturally long lifespan and good luck into everything. If it is red, however, drinking it will spread a horrific pestilence over you, claiming one of your senses every 10 years after the date that you first imbibed. It's a ritual Yeah, it's kind of interesting to say, hey, this is a thing, uninhabited, can't be easily found, and here's a mystery behind it. By DB Head. Alright. Oh, I need 2 more people for that goal. Whatever. Again, shit I don't need to be doing. I need to do like a vague stream just to make sure shit works at some other point. Alright. Forgotten. Memories. They're how we know what has happened. Everything you remember goes into who you are, why you act the way you do. It's a shame that people are not afflicted by the things they cannot remember. Especially you. Memories are funny. Memories are funny like that. Sometimes, when something is wonderfully frightening happens to you, your silly mind blocks it out to protect you. While it might think it's doing you a favor, it kills me to see it take those things away from you. Amazing things that have happened to you, horrible things that have happened to you. Even if you've forgotten, I will always remember. I was there with you, every stop of the way. I was standing in the shadows watching you, tormenting you. You have such exquisite fear. I can't get enough of it, over and over. I put you through the most exciting times of your life, watching each time as you collapse upon yourself in mindless terror. You're exhilarating. If only I could watch you suffer forever. But that silly mind of yours, each time you forget what fun we've had, and go on like nothing happened. You even read stories about horrific things, and you take pleasure in those horrors as I do. Yet you could never even fathom how grand it is to watch you endure them. None of those stories could amount up to the terrors you've faced. I want to have more fun with you and spend more time with you. I want to watch you screech in dismay again and again. I want to experience your agony 1,000,000 times. I only wish you would remember the dread I put in you. I wish that you would remember me and cry out in the night. It delights me thoroughly every time you see one of my abominations. You're so resourceful, always finding a way to live without losing any of your limbs. If only I could catch you. Only if I could watch you die as you scream, so scared for your life. If only one last memory you had was of me. Making you drown in fear as you begged for mercy, tears streaming down your face. I'd tell you I love you, and I would thank you for all the great times you've let me share with you. I think I would be truly happy as I watched you sink in your final dying despair. If you were smart, you wouldn't turn out. If you were smart, you wouldn't turn out those lights and pretend you're not hearing strange noises. You wouldn't distract yourself and remain alone, convinced that you'll be okay. Do you remember what happened the last time you did? No. I suppose you wouldn't. Credit to Sama. Oh, fuck. Yeah, that was a pretty good one. I suppose that was pretty good. Oh, this one has a video attached to it. Forsaken. I don't have much to say. I can't sleep for weeks. I can't eat, drink, talk, or go outside properly. It's watching me everywhere, and it's watching you too. Okay. This, if it's still there, this should have a link. Oh, whoa, what happened to my bitrate? There's a couple things that happened. I don't know what was up with that. Alright, so it should be control and click. Wait, what? It just took me to the main page of the Creepypasta wiki. Hold on now, that's not what I'm looking for. Hold on, let me try that again. Oh, oops. This item is no longer available. But now that you're here, explore. Okay, that's what it is. Really? Because it's supposed to be to a video. And try and search it. This would have been... What year did I get this? That was 2013, so it would have been prior to that. Okay. Well, let's go to fucking YouTube real quick. For sake. Alright, now I need my filters. Upload date. Can I custom upload date? Under 4 minutes is one. Type is going to be video. Relevance, upload date. Anything more I can do? I want more. Let's go back. What about view count? Can I flip it? See, this is gonna make it still really hard. 13 years ago? Well, maybe not. I'm just trying to see if I can find it. Real quick. I don't think I can. Nah. I could probably search for a while and still wouldn't find it. Because I can't do what I want to do and put in like a date prior when it would have been established. Like a no later than. Nope. Alright. Oh well. Since we can't get that added by Wikiabot. Alright. Oh, that was forgotten. Yeah, okay. For whatever reason, it changes the queue and shoves it way up to the top, and then now has to be resorted back down here to get back in translation. Just let this finish so it doesn't screw me up. Damn, it's hot. I'm drinking hot tea too. Motherfucker. How's the temperature where you guys are at? Because it's hot right now, this October 29th. 2 days before Halloween. Okay. Alright, there it is. Forsaken. Gotcha. Founders arrive. Following evidence is from the Bourne Road case. Audio entry found February 12, 2013. Outside apartment 22 Bourne Road. I can hear them. Like sirens. That damn notice. It's like they're everywhere. It's like they're everything and nothing at the same time. Oh, what did I open? Why did I open the door? So damn stupid. And what are they? They took my friends and the rest of them. No one is left. No one. And now I'm stuck here, not able to move. My leg is dislocated and I'm too tired. The sound is getting louder. I'm not sure if my sanity even exists anymore. I keep seeing the moving shadows through the cracks in the door, but I'm sure that it's in my head. I mean, it has to be, or I think it has to be. Then why does it feel like I'm being watched? I don't understand what's going on anymore. It's as if I'm having a nightmare. I don't have long now. I can feel the cold blood dripping down. I can feel them. They are here. They have arrived. The founders have arrived. Okay. I don't know. Curious. I see a lot of Bourne Street, but I'm not seeing Bourne Road. Well, here's a Bourne Road. Bourne Road, Glen Iris. Bourne Road, Plymouth. Yeah, there's a few of them. There's Bourne the town. Interesting. Interesting. Alright, hopefully we can bring that up too. So that won't... No, that's not clickable. Freaky Sunny 2. It was getting late, and I was bored, so I decided to play some Sunny 2. And lately, I've been trying to beat Heroic, and I used other people's builds. At the time, I forgot what it was like, what was in the hydraulic skill tree, and I wanted to try and make my own Heroic build, which I would probably fail on. Anyway, I followed the Congregate link in Armored Games, and here's where it gets weird. Congregate still a thing? Everything was normal, but the loading screen took longer than usual. I obviously wondered right there what the fuck was happening, but I really wanted to play Hydraulic. When I started playing, the screen seemed to toggle between screens without me pressing anything and repeatedly leading me to starting a new save file. I chose not to have a tutorial and kept on easy. Excuse me. Here, before I could do anything, it flashed between screens, especially the PvP one. If I could click fight quick enough, there would be 2 Sunny's levels infinity with no skin and 2 undefined attacks. If I went on the skill screen, it would flash for a few skills on the whole tree at the bar and then close it. I eventually decided to do battles. The scary thing is that each battle, it was only me, no Veridux or Roald, versus a copy of me in the middle of the other 1 or 2 people in some battles there are there. Also, the game thinks that when any of the middle ones are speaking, no one is, so it comes up with an information box. Basically, through this is kind of panicked since I kind of panicked since the game is having a spaz. I quickly downloaded Hypercam and recorded the nonsense for about 6 minutes, and I uploaded it to YouTube. The original title was clip 0001.avi, but I added the extra to the end. Alright, let's see if we can pop this sucker open. Come on, bring it up. Okay. With all that, I wouldn't dare lie about what happened, so that might be why it's shitty. Alright, let's see if it's still there. No, it takes me to the Creepypasta Wikia. Why does it take me to the Creepypasta Wikia if it's supposed to be on YouTube? God damn it. And it says no longer available, which means it probably never left. It was probably never, Come on, man. Okay. Sorry, it just pisses me off a little. Because I've reached links before. I think the issue is they hyperlinked it wrong. When they did the hyperlink, they didn't do it right. At least as far as I can tell. Alright. Free will. Is God real? Think about this question for a while. No need to come to a conclusion. We are not focusing on that. What we are focusing on is this so-called term, free will. Now, let's say God is real. How do you know he does not control your every move? You think you have free will, right? Every choice you make is yours. What if it was placed here and decided for you? You were forced to choose that and didn't know. You would be a puppet in someone's hands, right? Every choice you make was predicted for you. Nothing is your choice. You didn't choose to take the turn. You felt like you did. But that is an illusion in the human eyes. Everything you ever did was never your choice. Now, on to God. How do we know that he doesn't control us? How do we know we aren't a pawn? There isn't a way to tell. We will be released of this curse upon death. Will we be released upon this curse upon... Will we be released of this curse upon death? Or will it be worse, seeing who or what controls us? Will we be able to choose to do whatever we want in the afterlife? Or will we never be able to tell if we are stuck in this paradox? I like this concept by That One Camper. So the whole issue with like free will is, alright, so God has a plan, right? And everything is within God's plan. Then there is no free will, because you're doing God's will regardless of what you do, no matter what. And then there's a whole caveat to, well, then that's why, you know, you have atheists and people of other religions. It's God's own fault. It just runs, and it will eventually get circular, but it's not too big of an issue. So here's the interesting thing that I take from it is you wouldn't know the difference if you thought you were choosing it out of your own free will. There is no real way to tell. And technically, on a mathematical level, everything is technically preordained to a point. Like, like, if we had the ability to even remotely comprehend math, there's certain things that could be predicted. So it goes, and I don't remember what field of study it is, but I do remember hearing something about that. And it was really interesting, but I'll stick with the idea that I'm making my own choices, whether I am or not. So, caveats, right? It's an interesting thought experiment, if nothing else. Frequency. In the late 1950s, scientists accidentally discovered something that isn't meant to exist. Since then, it has been dubbed the frequency. The frequency works on the basis that prolonged exposure increases the potency of the effects. For example, somebody who has been exposed for 10 minutes would have less effects than a person exposed for 1 hour. The frequency remains largely secret. As the reveal of its effects and its origins are likely to cause panic, and we'll get to that at the end. Naturally, the scientists responsible for the frequency felt it would be best to test it. The first test, lasting 20 minutes, showed no immediate effect other than some acute anxiety. Test 2 was different. It lasted an hour long, shortly after the subject complained about fog in front of his eyes, and shadows coming towards him out of the fog. He then picked up a scalpel and grabbed the scientist nearest to him, slitting his throat before taking the scalpel to his own eyes, attempting to rid himself of images. Naturally, the tests were scrapped and the research was buried in the archives. Anyway, it is an important part. I put your life at risk by waiting this long to tell you. This is how to identify the sound. It is a low and loud hum. Upon hearing it, you must get away fast. Although it's probably too late, considering the time you would have been on the site trying to scare yourself. You've soon experienced what real fear is. Anyway, the important part. I put your life at... Let's review the facts. It is generated in a place which would cause mass panic if discovered. Makes you feel fear and anxiety, and makes a low, loud hum. All seems pretty damn inconclusive to me, but... Wait, what's that sound coming from your computer? I see what they did there. I see what you did there. Circumventing expectations. I see how you do. Alright. Fresh start. Ooh. Somewhere in West Philadelphia, you will find an old basketball court with a single ball lying in the middle. Pick it up and start shooting hoops. After a while, a small group of hooligans will approach you and challenge you to a fight, which you must accept. Ooh, excuse me. After the fight, you must go home and relay the events to your mother. She will then inform you that you have an aunt and uncle living in one of the districts of Los Angeles, and out of fear, she will send you to live there for an indefinite period of time. With your bags packed, go to the street corner and whistle for a cab. The cab that will pull up will bear the word "fresh" on the license plate, and upon closer inspection, novelty fuzzy dice will hang from the mirror. Although you will suddenly realize that cabs like this are extremely hard to find, do not bear any thoughts to it. At this point, you must point out the front of the car and say, "Yo homes to Bel Air." You will stop in front of a mansion, and it will be sometime between 7 and 8 o'clock. Even though it will feel like you've been traveling mere seconds, get your luggage out and say, "Yo home, smell you later." But do not turn back to face the cabbie. Walk up to the door, look over your shoulder once, and then knock on the door 3 times. If you follow the instructions, your life will get turned upside down. I feel like I'm missing something with Fresh Prince and Bel Air. Oh shit! That almost went bad. Ugh. Okay. Yeah, I feel like I'm missing a lot of information. So I don't want to judge that one. Alright. Friend. I look into your friend's eyes and I know he is good. I have a special friend. In fact, that is what he has me call him. Friend. He is a funny friend, who only comes to me at night when Mommy and Daddy are asleep. He can always tell if they are sleeping or not, and he knows how to get into my room, even when all the doors and windows are locked. I used to be scared when Friend came because he would wake me up, but Friend always comforted me and told me to keep quiet. Friend didn't say anything after that. Looking into Friend's eyes, I felt calm and began to realize he was good. Friend takes me on adventures when Mommy and Daddy are asleep. He tells me stories about other friends just like him, who visit other boys and girls across the world. I imagine they are very lucky to have someone like Friend. Sometimes Friend will take me to a magical room full of bright lights, and he will introduce me to other friends. They gather around and play games with me and other children. Sometimes the other friends will take our arms and give us injections like the nurses and doctors do, but they always say sorry if we cry. Friend tells me that they are making sure I grow up to be big and strong. He says that the other children are also being helped. I asked Friend if we are sick, and Friend says no. Though he does tell me that he and the other friends want what's best for me and the others. That I should not ask too many questions. Again, Friend does not need to say anything more. I look into Friend's eyes, and I don't want to ask any questions. I just want to play more games. Yet Friend is very strict. When Mommy and Daddy begin to wake up, he takes me home and tucks me in. He tells me to go to sleep. Sometimes I get excited and I don't want to sleep. Then Friend looks at me, and I soon feel sleepy. During the day, I find myself dreaming about Friend, and everything seems so sad. I don't want to talk much to Mommy or Daddy, even the other children, or Mommy or Daddy, or even the other children at school. The teachers say that they are worried about me, but Friend says they are just being silly. Every night I wait for Friend to arrive and I tell him how much I miss him. How I wish I could stay with him and the other friends forever, yet Friend says I will need to wait a little longer. Until I have grown big and strong. I look into Friend's eyes and nod. I am getting bigger every day. Maybe someday soon Friend will let me stay with him forever. I would like that very much. Yes. I wish I could grow up faster, so I could be with friend. Forever. It's like a reverse ET situation. By Big Fat Albert, I guess. Sorry, that image is one of those images you can shake. Like, shake your head. Or your screen, I guess. And it looks like it's moving in the frame. Even though it's not. Friends don't let friends. I told him, friends don't let friends go to jail. I told him how I butchered my parents. I wanted approval from my best friend. He lied to me. Lied when he said it was our secret. He must have been disappointed when he heard that there was no evidence to suggest I committed these crimes besides his word. They found his prints, all right. They found prints, all right. Prints on the knives used to chop my parents up. On the sliding door of the bathtub. On the doorknob, both coming in and going out the house. All his prints, all from the day before, and I asked him to do some innocuous task, but I stand by my rule. Friends don't let friends go to jail. Too bad he's not my friend anymore. I wonder if I could read that in a minute. From my perspective. I was 3 when my parents and I were at the beach. That was the happiest memory of my life. Daddy bought me a drink and Mommy went to get the cake. I was playing in the sand when I heard Daddy shout and race towards me. His eyes were full of panic. He told me to run into the waves and stay down until he came back. He pushed me towards the waves and I saw Mommy, pale-faced and staring. I cried and ran towards her as an intruder grabbed Daddy too. They are dead now. I ran towards the waves, but Derek caught me first. I enjoy it with Derek. Murder, the taste of blood, and the satisfying screams as young children are dragged away from their parents. Daddy's last words were to never forget who I am. I never have, but I don't live in the past anymore. Derek and I are like twins. We have a connection. A need to kill. That ain't right. I don't know. It's like the beginning of someone's monologue or something. Like explaining their story, and then it goes into an even bigger story to broaden what was going on. Alright. Let me do this. From the corner of your eye. I'm not sure how to start this, so I'm going to dive right in. My name is Michelle, and I live in Ottawa. A couple of months ago, I started to notice something odd. To be honest, I didn't know how long ago it started, but that was when I really started to pay attention. No matter where I looked or where I was, there was a black thing in the corner of my eye. At first it was just when I was alone. I could vaguely see something, but when I checked behind me, there was nothing there. Soon the blob got bigger, and so I went to the eye doctor to see if maybe there was something wrong with my eyes. But when he checked me and told me my eyes were fine, I just chalked it up to overactive imagination, hoping it would go away, you know? It didn't. And now I know that it wasn't an eye problem. It was everywhere. When I passed by a window or a mirror or out of the corner of my eye, it looked as though someone was behind me. Or when I was in the shower, it would feel as though someone was watching me. The 5th time it happened, I was rinsing shampoo out of my hair and rubbed my eyes to make sure that none had got in my eyes and that my contacts hadn't fallen out. I opened my eyes. For a split second, something was there. Then I blinked and it was gone, like it had never been there in the first place. I will never forget that face. You may have noticed I put thing instead of someone. That's because it was a thing. Its skin was torn and blackened, just like paper that wasn't saved from the fire in time. Its eyes had no lids. And before you get the wrong idea, I didn't mean it never had lids. I mean, it looked like someone had torn off its eyelids, crudely and recently. It was taller than me, and thin. It looked like a person who had been bruised, brutalized, and he had forgotten that it was human. But the worst part was its eyes. Those eyes. They could have belonged to anyone. Now, I couldn't ignore it all. And every time I slept, I had nightmares from seeing it. A week ago, after waking from another nightmare, you know when you wake up and your breathing is so loud that for a bit it's like someone else is in the room with you. Yeah, that's what I heard when I woke up. So because I was freaking out, I held my breath to calm myself. The heavy breathing continued, right in my ear. All I could imagine was those eyes. Those eyes that never stopped watching. They can't stop watching. Somehow, though, I fell back asleep. The next few days at work and at home, the thing was becoming clearer and closer, until yesterday out of nowhere I felt a hand touch my back. It was cold as ice. Thinking it was a coworker because I was at work, I turned around to tell him off, but the room was empty. That's when I knew the thing could touch me, and it was closer than ever. And one day I will turn around, or open my eyes, and it will be right there. Because that day I noticed it. It became real and no one was able to save me. Yeah, that's surreal. That's an interesting one, I guess. Because, so, everything at the corner of your eye is something that doesn't generally have very good peripheral. The edges of your peripheral are the least amount of recognition. So what your brain will do sometimes is it will try to make something up to fill in the gaps, so that way you have a full picture. Because technically, even though we're getting light going directly to our eyeballs, it's still the brain that has to interpret what the image actually is. So you have the receptors, your cones and rods or whatever in your eyeball that help separate what the image is supposed to be, and then it gets to your brain. Your brain still has to do the job of making sure that that's what it believes. So, yeah. It's like having glasses. I'm always seeing something in the corner of my eye because I'm looking through lenses and I've got the frames there. So there's a lot of times where something will do a minute movement and I'll be like, okay, what's that? I also wonder if it's worse for people with glasses or people without glasses. Frown Cat. Frown Cat is the mortal enemy of Smile Dog. Instead of making you horribly depressed, angry, or suicidal, looking at Frown Cat for an extended period of time will make you laugh for about 6 hours until you pass out. You will then start laughing at completely inappropriate times, like funerals, and everyone will abandon you. And you will spend your remaining years in a tiny cockroach-infested shack before dying alone, cackling maniacally all the while. The only known cure is to look at Smile Dog for 10 minutes without blinking. By What's So Creepy About Pasta? God, it almost breaks my heart to think that most of these stories aren't on the wiki anymore. Because they do eventually have to crack down and actually get, make sure they had like a air of quality. That one's cute. Kinda. Oh, this is a recipe. Alright, frozen hand punch. Yeah, we're reading these too. Alright. 6 cups of unsweetened pineapple juice, chilled. 3 cups cold water. 1 6-ounce can of frozen lemonade concentrate. 4 blood orange or orange slices. 1 recipe frozen hands, see below. Directions for punch. In a punch bowl, stir together pineapple juice, water, and lemonade concentrate, float orange slices, and frozen hands in punch. Make 8, about 10-ounce servings. Alright, frozen hands. Carefully pour cranberry juice cocktail into 2 or 3 clear plastic gloves. Fill the gloves so that the fingers can move easily. Tightly seal the gloves with the rubber bands. Place on a baking sheet lined with paper towels. Freeze until firm. Use scissors to cut the gloves off the frozen hands. If any fingers break off, add them separately to the punch. Note: be sure to use gloves without powder, or rinse powdered gloves thoroughly before using. That could be fun. That could be fun. Added by Cheese Lord. Alright. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're so close to getting to the golf section. We're almost at the end of Foxtrot. Okay. Frozen. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. I could only stare. It did the same, its eyes digging directly into mine. It was the eyes that seemed to do the most harm. They seemed infinite in depth, and the deepest horrific aura emanated off of them. I had awoken not 5 minutes ago, with it relaxed over my lap. At first, the groggy dizziness of the sleep blurred my perception, but after a few seconds I began to realize in horror that the thing was not a laughing matter. It slowly sat up and stared in my eyes. I couldn't say anything. My throat immediately went dry. I didn't even know what I could say. It was small needles, to say, and petite. Its skin was very odd, vibrant color, but it was some dingy and gross. But it seemed dingy and gross as well. It emitted a strange scent, a smell I can't really describe. But it sickened me to my stomach. I told him I didn't want this. I told him, but he insisted. God damn it, Oak. Even after I had left this thing, which had already creeped me out in his possession, it still showed up here at my fucking house. Did it come here by itself? Regardless, tomorrow I'm going to tell that bastard to keep his little freak. If I make it to tomorrow. Ouch! That little cunt shocked me. I forgot I was capable of this. How the hell did you get here? Why are you here? I asked, jokingly of course. I didn't expect a reply. Did he bring you here? I asked, glaring into his hypnotic eyes. No, it said, maintaining its horrific smile. I jumped a little. The little shit it spoke. You can talk too? I stammered. Why, yes, I can. You see, he made me special. I'm not like the others, it replied. slowly inching forward until only a few inches away from my face. This... you... what the hell? Get off of me! I tried to pick it up, but it shocked me again. Now I was frightened. It could kill me with relative ease, and I knew this, and it knew this. Tomorrow will be our journey. It's your birthday, right? It said. God damn, I wish it would stop smiling. Yes? I responded. Well then. Happy birthday. Tomorrow we will go out into the world together, and we will become very close. I slumped down. I couldn't believe this. I assure you I'll be a good friend. We will catch them all. By Xenodeath 888. Making Pikachu scary. Which I think, even though I wouldn't say this is very good pasta now, I want to think we may have read this back in the day, and it was really interesting, the idea that you're taking what's supposed to be super cute and turning it into something horrific. Oh, god damn it. Okay. Alright, let's see. Fulcrum. You'll either die or lose your mind if you reach the end of this sentence, so stop reading it. In the early 1930s, a research group of psychologists, semioticists, and English professors in Austria were researching the fundamentals of understanding language. It was believed, rather than language simply being an arbitrary, albeit very complex, system of mnemonics for our conceptualism of reality, that perhaps one learned and internalized, our use of language actually became embedded within the root thought processes involved in our filtration of external ordered stimuli, and thereby our very grasp of reality. And this team of researchers distilled what turned into be a symbolic halt mechanism into the kind of punctuation, not a period or exclamation point or question mark, but a cognitive escape character, referred to as the ablation mark, or fulcrum for short. Though whether the word fulcrum betrays the visual appearance or actual textual annotation is the new punctuation, really should not be dwelled upon, even though the glyph is fairly unremarkable. It operates differently when encountered as a component of grammar. Regardless, you should have stopped reading this sentence long ago, but at some point I've got to end it, and it won't be with a period or an exclamation point or a question mark, but with a fulcrum, and only a fulcrum, because I've used all the colons, semicolons, parentheses, and em dashes as I possibly can, and yet you continue reading, making it very difficult for me to continue to make this sentence grammatically correct, which it must be, for it is the only thing keeping me from dying or losing my mind, because I did see the fulcrum at the beginning and begun writing this sentence into the attempt to maintain my already faltering grasp in the world of ordered concepts and symbols tied to meaning, to stave off the deconstruction of my earliest memories of language, since it was the deconstruction upon viewing the ablation mark that is so suddenly and ever so severe that the victim's sensory perception actually briefly halts, leaving the mind locked into total isolation that cannot be described as darkness or even absence of darkness, which in turn brings into the catastrophic sympathetic response of the central nervous system, a response that I have only managed to delay with the properly grammatically correct sentences, which I cannot allow to end, and yet must end because I cannot type forever in purely grammatically correct sentences when I have used all the available punctuation, including colons, semicolons, parentheses, em dashes, hyphens, and save for the damn abbreviation mark, which if you value your life, you would break your gaze at the single sentence immediately, for the fulcrum is real, and its absence of absence and I cannot go on using words like for and but and to string more clauses into this still but not for long purely grammatically correct sentence. So God help me and have mercy on my soul and forgive me for what I am about to do, but I never should have opened that drawer in his office, and if I had never read the paper, I would never have seen the fulcrum, but God help me, I did. Damn, that's one sentence. One big-ass grammatically correct sentence. I could read it. I could read it like anything. Good job, Chris Straub. Kudos to you for actually setting this up the way you did. That is incredibly interesting. I mean, I guess the only thing I can take away is it's one of those stop reading things, even though you're drawing attention to it to begin with. But, I mean, I think this is really well done. Like, for what it's supposed to be. Like, it understands that what it's doing is not using a period. Until there. There's your period. Full moon. On the night of the last full moon, I had the craziest dream. At least, I tell myself that's what it was. I was a beast. I was massive. I had incredible strength and voracious appetite. Anything within my path that was smaller than I was would become prey. I could no longer speak, and my threats escaped in menacing growls. I felt powerful, I felt free, I felt untamed. The feeling was so liberating and amazing. I loved every minute of it. I was racing through the moonlight. Nothing could stop me. I had a silver coat of fur covering my beastly form. I threw my head back and released a savage howl. All through the night, I lived a second life. For a moment, I even fought another of my kind, although it was only a playful sport, though, admittedly. It was rather painful when she sunk her teeth into my leg. For the rest of that night, I ran alongside my kin, feeling an innocent joy that I hadn't felt since I was a small child. When I realized the sun was coming up, from then on, everything's getting a little fuzzy. An overwhelming sense of panic overcame me and I fled. I didn't know what for sure where I was going, but the others seemed to have the same feeling. We were all running back to wherever we came from, scattering like dust in a storm. Shortly after, I woke up. A sharp sting was in my leg. She must have bitten me pretty hard. The sunlight invasively beamed through my window, and when I opened my eyes, I couldn't help but elicit a gasp. Silver hairs are retracting into my flesh, vanishing under my skin. And I'm absolutely positive that time I was awake. Written by Shinigami Eyes. Shinigami Eyes has a lot of good ones. Don't know who they are, but they do a great job. Okay, we gotta keep going. We gotta get to golf. There's only a few left. Full Metal. I'm a fan of Full Metal Alchemist, a show that many people at my school have never heard of. It's a good show and all, but I have a feeling that a curse lies behind it. This feeling started to affect me around June of this year. I was at the library looking for a good show, and I had never seen before when I saw Full Metal Alchemist. Though I thought to myself, This looks really entertaining. It was entertaining. The story was complex, the characters were comedic, and it was truly one of the best animes I had ever seen in my life. So I went to school in August and told everybody about the show. They all said, "Full Metal what?" I was so confused. One kid named Corbin Smith actually said he had watched it, and I did kinda get a different view of him. We became friends and I met his family, but a few days ago I went to his house and I saw Full Metal Alchemist was on TV. When I asked Ken, "Corbin, where you at?" I saw Corbin alright. He was all grayish black and his body had been petrified. I just freaked out. On his shirt I noticed a transmutation circle. After that, I just ignored it and continued watching the show. I'm sure that the show caused his death, but I must not let him get in the way of my interests. All hail homunculus. I see. He was from the other side of it. Fun in the country. Burning down trees is fun. The distinctive smell of smoke bellowing from the burning landscape gives you a thrill like no other. The sounds of crackling, snapping, and screeching of dying animals coming from the blazing inferno are a joy to listen to. A wildfire at night is one of the most joyous sights known to man. There is nothing more beautiful than the fire's light illuminating the night sky. But eventually, burning trees become dull. You get tired of laying forest to waste, and soon you move into buildings. You usually start with abandoned cabins, then you move on to barns. Then you start to burn down people's houses. There's a sick sense of enjoyment you get from burning down occupied buildings. The screaming coming from inside gives you a buzz. You keep burning down houses, venturing across the countryside, just burning down houses. Soon you'll run out of houses, so you move on to small towns and villages. You burn down entire settlements in one night. The newspapers began to call you the arsonist of the West. The police began searching for you. You become a wanted man. And yet you continue burning down things. You terrorize the West Coast, turning everywhere you visit into ashes. Eventually you come into a city. By now you've killed some 100,000 people. Why in there? You start by burning down all the fire stations in the city. Kind of ironic, eh? When you burn down the police stations. Then you burn down the police stations. By the time you've burned down the last police station, you've been in the city for 3 days, and the military have been called in. You head into the outer areas of the city. You head towards the nuclear power plant. The military are on your tail. They are finally about to kill the arsonist of the West, but that was not to be. For you burnt down the nuclear power plant and made the West Coast an uninhabitable wasteland. Burning down trees is fun, isn't it? I'm curious. Has that actually been a thing? Arsonist of the No arsonist of the West. I mean, there's West Wing and certain things like buildings, but that's about as close as it gets. Alright. Is there a credit? No. Okay. Funnel web. During the 1970s, there was a slew of deaths in Australia, usually attributed to the Australian funnel web spider. In 1980, an anti-venom was released, but between the years of 1974 and 1979, 8 people were killed by the funnel web spider in North Queensland. While the number seems small, it is expectedly high for such a small time frame, especially talking about spider bites which result in deaths. A strange thing about the deaths is that 3 to 5 spiders were found in the victim's room each time. From time to time, the screen covering the window was ripped or removed. Police never investigated further. By Jack the Ripper, 34. I feel like there needs to be more effort into this one. Alright, we're finally done with Foxtrot. It was longer than Echo. H's are going to take a while because of the Holder series. Oh, shit. Okay. Alright. Gotta at least hit the first one. For it to count as golf. Getting into golf. Alright. Gallery. About 15 years ago, I was attending university outside of London. The school is famous for its art gallery that draws visitors from all over England. My final exams were given in a cavernous hall with dozens of enormous oil paintings covering the walls from floor to ceiling. I noticed that one painting hanging to my right had been covered in a large British flag. Excuse me. Although I didn't think much of it at the time, I asked several of the third-year students if they knew anything about it. They told me the following story. While everyone else was scribbling down answers, he took two of his sharpened pencils and inserted them into his nose, and slammed his head into the desk. The pencil tips penetrated straight into his brain, killing him instantly. Oh wait, shit. Apparently the Here you go. They told me the following story. Apparently the university had always given exams in the hall because it was the largest building on the campus. A number of years ago, there was one student who could not concentrate on his final exams. He just kept staring at a certain painting, oblivious to everything around him. He stared and stared at this one particular painting. While everyone else was scribbling down answers, he took two of his sharpened pencils and inserted them into his nose and slammed his head into the desk. The pencil tips penetrated straight into his brain, killing him instantly. Ever since then, there has always been one painting in the gallery that was covered up during final exams. I went into the gallery one day to see the painting. It was a portrait of the British nobleman from the 19th century. It was utterly unremarkable except for the fact that his eyes would stare back at you. The kind of painting that follows you wherever you go. The only certainty in the story that I could vouch for is that every year hundreds of students shuffle into the halls and take their final exams and try, against all instincts and urges, to keep from continuously glancing up at the British flag hanging from the wall above them. That's interesting, by DB Head again. Oh, fuck. I'm not sure I can keep up. Go to golf, though. So there's something, I guess. Alright. Gambler game. Take a pack of playing cards, shuffle it, and deal yourself a hand up from the top of the deck. Choose whichever card you choose. Choose whichever card game you choose. Blackjack is preferred. Now look across the room and say, "Let's play." If the gambler is with you, you will feel a sudden chill on your left arm. The game has begun. Draw the gambler his hand, and play as you normally would. For the gambler's turn, you will lay down cards normally from his hand. You must never look at his hand before it is on the table. This will lead you to dire consequences. The wager of the game is your life. Should you win, you may take the top cards off the deck and slice the pointer finger on your right hand. Should you draw blood, this hand will now have the power to win any gamble, provided it is used in drawing the cards, spinning the wheel, etc. Be warned, however, should the gambler win, he will neither be quick nor clean about claiming his prize, and there is a reason you don't see too many people running around with the lucky hands. Ugh. How many more can I do? Okay. Let's do another one. Come on, I can do this. Gambling is a sin. This poor, unfortunate did not successfully earn 40 million overnight. The lottery is easily the biggest citizen partaking game ever invented. Millions of people of all ages buy tickets in the hopes of winning. Fortunately for them, you are more likely to die on your way to collecting a ticket. Oh, and in case you were wondering, that's true. Yeah, I've heard of that. By Sid Oreos. So, yeah, the thing about that is, so everyone at work tries to play the lottery. They all want it. They've said, how what they do if they won, they wouldn't be working for too much longer, and they'd probably change their name. They'd try and be as inconspicuous as possible, knowing that they're going to have to probably change their name. Things like that. So it's just one of those things. They change their name and move and whatnot. Alright. Okay. Fuck. Maybe I should end it here as far as like creepypastas. And then I can continue next week doing some Minecraft. Motherfucker. Just out of it. Okay. We got through a lot. So let me go ahead and write down where we stopped. Gambling is a sin. Let's tally up how many we've got through. Alright. 778. We read 50 stories. Okay, and the mic was on this time. Because I've made that mistake before, where I forget that my mic is still off. And it becomes a huge pain in the ass. Okay. I think I'm about done. Thanks to the Horn Burglar 96 for following. I really appreciate that. Sorry if I wasn't as enthusiastic due to various other circumstances. It's one of those things where you get tired a little easier. You get a little worn out quicker. I'm already not in very good health, so... Well, hey, this could be worse, but it could be a lot better. In any case, thank you for watching. Feel free to like, comment, share, and follow. And I guess subscribe if you want to be my buddy. Make sure to check out my links below for my YouTube, Patreon, Twitter, Facebook, um, and I think one other thing. Um, I try to stream every Sunday if I can. It's not always feasible. Last week I had internet problems. Let me know if there's anything you suggest. And this will also get uploaded to YouTube. Thank you very much for watching. And always remember, you have potential. Bye.